magical beings, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Sarah and I am the Woodland Witch. So I had a big burst of inspiration this week and I had a lot of ideas starting to come to my mind about what I want to create as far as content goes on YouTube. So I did a little bit of a vote to see what you guys wanted to see this week out of a set of 3 ideas, and you all chose the beginner witchcraft book recommendations. So I have compiled a list of some of the most influential books in my practice. They cover a variety of different topics and were books that really helped and shaped my practice as it is now. Now, just because I have chosen this set of books does not mean there are not other choices out there. These are just some of my favorites and I wanted to pass them along to you. The first book I'm going to talk about is A Door to Witchcraft, A New Witch's Guide to History, Traditions, and Modern Day Spells. This is one of the first books I read on my witchcraft journey, and I think The Green Witch was another one. This one is definitely a little worn because I have used it and referenced it so often. One of the things I really like about this book is how inclusive it is. It covers a wide range of topics and questions that you may be asking yourself when starting out your witchcraft journey. When gathering a lot of witchcraft and occult books, you'll notice that a lot of them always kind of start the same. All of them talk about color correspondences, phases of the moon, a lot of that really basic information that you need in the beginning. This one does a really good job of covering those basic topics. This book also has a great timeline of the history of witchcraft. That's something I think is really important to look into and to study when you are starting a witchcraft practice, especially if you're niching down to something that may be ancestrally specific to the region that you live in. Understanding the background and the histories of the things that we practice now is really important. This book is broken up into 2 parts. So the first part is mostly informational, histories, correspondences, tips, tricks, how to get started. And the second half is all spell workings. That's something pretty common that you'll see in a lot of witchcraft and occult books now. One thing I really like about the spells in this book specifically is that it goes into the where, the why, the how, when, and gives you a step-by-step guide on exactly how to do it. So if you're just getting into spellcrafting, this is a really great book to start with. It's not an overwhelming amount of information either, which I think can be really difficult to navigate in the beginning of your witchcraft practice. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of things to learn about. You'll find out quickly that it is a consistent learning process, that you never stop learning and gathering information and experiencing and hearing new things. But this book does a really good job of getting you started. I think it compiles information in a way that isn't a lot to take in. It's not overwhelming. It gives you launch points and things that you are going to be able to research even further and expand your knowledge as your craft grows. Now, I spoke of some different topics that you might want to research when getting into a witchcraft practice. History of magical and occult practices, I think, is one of the top 5 topics to research when you're starting your witchcraft practice. So this book, A History of Magic, Witchcraft, and the Occult, is an amazing guide to doing that. This book is huge, but it also has illustrations in it as well, which I think is really awesome. Definitely a visual learner and a visual person, so being able to see these images and symbols and different things in regards to the history of witchcraft and the occult is really cool. The book is really cool because it goes from the prehistoric era of occult and magical practices all the way up to our modern day practices. It talks about a variety of different cultures. It's very inclusive, where we get certain things from, how they evolved into what they are today. I think it's really awesome to be able to see how these practices were performed and how things have evolved over time. And like I said, the art aspect of it is really cool. You don't see that in a lot of witchcraft and occult books nowadays. So I think this book is really great for a beginner who is wanting to learn more about magical and occult practices across a variety of different cultures. I think it really allows for this deeper look and this respect to be formed for where these practices come from and how our ancestors practiced and how other cultures and things like this evolve over time. This next one is probably my favorite. I've read it like 3 times and it's very small and very short, but I think it covers a lot of information and really helped me in regards to warding and protecting my space and myself. And that is by Rust of Nail and Prick of Thorn. This book specifically teaches how to ward and protect yourself and your home. Warding is really important when you get into a witchcraft practice. This book showed me how important it really is to ward and protect your space, and how easy it is for something to penetrate your sacred space and your energy sphere. I think warding was a concept that I really struggled with. I don't know why, but warding was one of the topics in the beginning that I just didn't fully grasp. So I was consistently doing protection workings over and over and over again almost every day, instead of setting things in place that would kind of troubleshoot and be more of a preventative. Like I said, it's very small, very short, but it's jam-packed full of information. I didn't realize how warding could be so simple but so intricate and effective at the same time. This book really helped me grasp and understand that concept. And I think it's really important when getting into a witchcraft practice to know how to take care of yourself, protect your home, your family. I definitely recommend picking this up. It's a book I reference all of the time, literally all of the time. And I think it gives you a little bit more of a creative approach to home warding, and it really challenged me to kind of think outside of the box a little bit as well. Now, since we are on the topic of protection magic, I am going to recommend this book. This is Protection and Reversal Magic by Jason Miller. This is another one I reference all the time. Now, this book specifically I really like because it doesn't just go into preventative measures, but it goes into what to do when those preventative measures either fail or they are penetrated. It teaches you how to set up warning signals and how to be able to detect if something is gone awry. Not only does it tell you how to be able to detect, but it tells you how to troubleshoot and how to fix it. There's a lot of tips regarding spiritual hygiene in here. Spiritual hygiene is very important when beginning a witchcraft practice. It is a way to ensure that your mind, your soul, your spirit is protected and well taken care of. You take care of spiritual hygiene by doing things like cleansing, warding and protecting, banishing, all of these topics that you learn in the beginning of a witchcraft practice. This book goes into all of those things, how to do them, what to do, and gives you also some creative elements as well. One concept I really took from this book was the crafting of magical decoys. Now, when it comes to warding, we ward and protect our space with different objects. They can be as intricate or as simple as a rock you found outside and enchanted with the energy of protection and warding and absorbing any energy that may be trying to hinder you or your space. I liked this concept of creating decoys to confuse and allow energy that may be working against you or coming against you to kind of land elsewhere, away from you. I think this book has a really creative approach to protecting yourself in an occult space, especially in the time of social media when we are coming in contact with a lot of different energy spheres, a lot of different people, there's a lot of eyes on us. The techniques in this book can really help with things like that. I really like this book for beginners. I think it has a lot of really creative approaches to protecting yourself and your space. I think it covers really important topics that you need to know when starting your witchcraft journey. And I think it just does a really good job of teaching you how to take care of yourself in a witchcraft and an occult space. We had to throw a Green Witch book in here. Honestly, though, this one is really awesome. I think I've referenced Occult Botany on this page before, but I'm going to talk about it again because it's really awesome. I'm sure you've all heard of the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs by Scott Cunningham. This book has a very similar setup to that. But the reason I like this book so much is that it combines practical knowledge with occult knowledge. It doesn't just tell you what the correspondence is, it tells you what it's good for, and it tells you why the correspondences are what they are, which I think is something that we kind of miss sometimes, especially in the occult space, where we just have correspondences for X, Y, and Z, but we never really talk about where those correspondences came from. And sometimes we never challenge them. That's why I think it's really important to spend time with your tools and your ingredients and see how it speaks to you, how it resonates with you, and the energy that you're feeling from a specific tool or ingredient. Because a lot of times these tools and ingredients have something to tell you. Or it may have a specific use that you haven't been able to link to the correspondences that it's typically listed under. And as we know, herbs are really important when it comes to crafting spells. They're not a necessity, but I do feel like they are one of those more universally known and used tools. Whether you get this book or the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, I think having a herbal book handy is always really important. Just gives you a little bit more insight and detail and connection to the tools and the plants and herbs that we may be using in our practice. I know I said Rust of Nail and Prick of Thorn was my favorite, but this one is also one of my top 5 favorite books, and that is Grove Daughters Witchery. This is the book for beginning witchcraft. This is it, especially if you are wanting to get into spellcrafting. And as I mentioned earlier, you're going to hear a lot of things, a lot of opinions. People are going to have a lot of 2 cents to give you. They're going to tell you what's right, what's wrong, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. I am a firm believer that you learn by doing. I spent a lot of time early on in my practice being afraid to branch out, to begin spell work, to begin just doing things. But a lot of the reason we get into a witchcraft practice is to improve our quality of life and to take our power back, to honor our ancestors. There's a plethora of reasons, but I think immersing yourself in it is where you are going to learn the most. And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to mess up. That's all a part of the process. But this book right here is a really great guide to get you through that. Even people who have been practicing for years could get something out of this book. This book is a very practical approach to spellcrafting and beginning a witchcraft practice. It's been one of the most influential books in my craft. And the best part about it is there is a ton of recipes in here. Oils, herb blends. This is probably one of my favorite parts of this book, is that in the very back, it lists different intentions. Now, under these intentions, it lists a variety of herbs. So instead of going and finding an herb and looking up the correspondences and searching, you can look them up by intention in this book, which I really love. There's more practical knowledge in here for beginners, such as color magic and correspondences. And this book not only tells you what to do and how to do it, but it tells you where to get the tools you might need to do so, which I think is something we run into a lot in a witchcraft space, where people are like, well, I don't have this ingredient. I don't know where to find this. So I think it's really awesome that that is included in here to kind of guide you on where to find these items that you might need. This book has a lot of advice and a lot of guidance, and I think is really perfect for anyone who's starting out in spellcrafting or getting into a witchcraft practice, and it's something that you can continuously reference as your practice grows over time. All right, everyone, those are my beginner witch book recommendations. Now, as I said, there are a million books out there, but these ones specifically really influenced, shaped, and still continue to help me grow in my practice. If there's a book that has really shaped and influenced your practice and might be able to help someone else, be sure to leave those in the comments so that others can find those. As always, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all in the next one.